Hi everyone, this is Marco from Ziffity. I am a solutions specialist and I'm here to give you a few pieces of advice for implementing your e-commerce website. Thank you for tuning in. Here's the topic that we'll be covering today. A successful e-commerce implementation requires careful analysis and strategy around a handful of core concepts in order for your applications and business processes to succeed online. During this video, I'm going to be talking about 6 core areas during which people usually get into trouble. If you are looking to build a new website for your B2B business or are planning to re-platform your existing website, then the information in this video will be valuable to you. However, if you already have a stable and well-performing site and are just looking to take it to the next level by adopting the newest digital tools, then this particular session might not be the one for you. However, feel free to check out Ziffity's website for further relevant resources. So, here are the 6 core areas we'll be unpacking during this video. Integration with third-party systems, site search, user experience, product content, website performance, organic traffic. Now, even though this may sound like common knowledge, from experience we've learned that most e-commerce websites fail to reach their intended goals because of issues in one of these core areas. You can guarantee yourself success online if you understand them and act against them in a thoughtful and proactive way, which is why the discovery phase of your project is very, very important. B2B companies like yours need to do a very thorough job to analyze them, identify any issues that may pop up in one of these areas, and come up with a good plan to address them as they come. So, let's get into them. Number 1, integrations. An e-commerce implementation is about a solid orchestration of third-party systems working hand-in-hand with your e-com platform. These systems may be things like ERPs, CRMs, payment gateways, email service providers, just to name a few. And even though communication between these systems is usually implemented in standard protocols or through standard protocols, this is still one of the highest risk areas when it comes to implementing a new e-com website. So to that end, here are some specific precautionary steps you can take to make sure that you don't run into a wall when integrating your platform with third-party systems. All required APIs should be identified and made available to the development team before development starts. Third-party API development teams should be part of the core e-commerce project team and be considered when defining milestones or communicating across teams. You need to plan and be prepared for downtime for version upgrades on the product side of these third parties. The e-commerce development team will need at the very least read-only access to these third-party systems so that they can perform end-to-end validation. Your system design should not allow for a single point of failure. That's to say, if a given dependency fails, there should always be an alternate option for the system to function. Everything should be traceable: user behaviors, errors, payment failures, etc. Log management and error handling are a must so that you can spend the least amount of time troubleshooting issues when they happen. API performance benchmark reports should be required before the development begins so that you can analyze hurdles like fluctuating API response times due to load on ERP or infrastructural changes between these systems. Security standards for APIs should be understood and identified by all parties involved. Consumers using site search are way more likely to convert than those that use standard navigation because they're shopping with clear intent. Now, these people have probably done prior research before getting to your site, so they expect a very frictionless journey from search results over to the page where the information of the product that they're looking for exists. The search results page is one of the most frequented pages on any e-com site, And it's still very common to see things like product not found, or content does not exist anymore, or to be served a page of completely irrelevant results, which is very frustrating. Today's internet user has almost zero patience when it comes to this kind of experience, and so if you don't provide them a clear path forward and provide them definite, explicit information about the product they're looking for, then it's very likely they'll be off of your site in seconds and off to a competitor's. Speed, relevancy, accuracy, and presentation. These are all key, and they matter a lot when creating a great search experience. Now, search should be thought of as a larger part of your implementation, and so it's probably best to tackle it in phases and not to reach for all search-related goals at the same time. So here's a quick example of a phased approach for implementing search functionality. Phase 1. Quick search, synonyms, weight attributes, and autocomplete. Phase 2. Relevancy, spell check, did you mean, keyword replacement, content-specific search. Phase 3. Search personalization by behavior and machine learning, product recommendation engines, visual search, natural language processing. It's important that you select the right tool given your budget and requirements. Most e-com platforms nowadays come with out-of-the-box search features. Magento, for example, comes with Elasticsearch, which is one of the leading open-source search platforms, but there's also more advanced tools like Algolia, SearchSpring, and HawkSearch that offer more sophisticated search features. Zeroing in on the right tool is really only part of it, because it's also important that you have a strong team dedicated to optimize the way your search tool is managed, the way it processes the information given by your users, given that user behavior and trends tend to change quickly over time. Building an attractive looking front end is probably the most obvious goal when building a new site, and rightly so, although there are more critical details behind a user experience that are very important when reaching for your business goals. Your front end should be intuitive, it should be responsive, and it should be simple. A user experience is important because elements within it are meant to anticipate and fulfill your users' needs while creating an experience that keeps them loyal to your product or brand. Now, it's very important that the project team and any stakeholders involved don't assume that they already know your users' expectations, and they should instead seek to validate their understanding of the types of people that are browsing your site and the different paths that they are taking through it. Here are some specific techniques to help you think through and develop a meaningful user experience. Defining user personas, mapping out user journeys, performing focused customer group testing in your local markets, sending out user surveys, creating a sitemap, and coming up with wireframes and prototypes. Clear and wholesome product data are essential to winning your customers over in a B2B landscape. The crux of your user journey is really the product detail page, because that page represents the look and feel of your product online. If you have poor, scarce, inaccurate, or otherwise unattractive product data, that's very harmful for your business online. Take, for example, some of these stats out of Shortfarm's latest report. Bad data can cause an increase in returns. Up to 40% of customers claim to have returned a product due to inaccurate or missing content. It also weakens confidence in the brand for almost 90% of users. Only about 13% of them would return to a store for the second time if there's insufficient or confusing information. Your product data should also be supported by content in pages outside of the product detail, like category pages or even post-checkout. It's important that during the discovery phase, You analyze and identify any gaps in the way that you are displaying or handling product data across your entire site and across the user experience, and come up with a plan to fill in those gaps. Now, I understand that in the B2B landscape, it's fairly challenging to maintain consistency across all of your product data, especially for wholesalers or distributors who may be dealing with various different types of goods. It's also possible that your B2B brand is consuming product information from different channels or different vendors who are providing that data in formats that don't align with the way your e-commerce platform consumes and manages that data. And for that reason, there are specialized service providers that you can hire to create and organize that data for you. Apart from product specifications, which are always mandatory, there are also additional pieces of content or additional types of content you can provide your customers so they can make an informed decision. These are things like product comparison tables, showing the differences between products across different price points, calculating and displaying tax and shipment costs upfront, being timely in displaying delivery options across the user journey, and also displaying things like customizability, right? The extent to which you can customize a product for your customer, as well as visuals. Product imagery is very important, and engineering diagrams are a big draw when it comes to B2B selling online. There are also providers out there you can hire to create these engineering 3D specification diagrams and visuals for you to support your products online. Number 5, website performance. In the mind of a potential buyer, a slow site is not a trustworthy site. Amazon calculates that increasing page load time by about 1 second could cost them up to $1.6 billion in revenue. So it's clear that high performance is directly correlated with online revenue, yet it's still common to hear brand owners say they're not satisfied with the performance of their e-com site. There's usually optimization and performance initiatives that aren't kicked off until after a site goes live, and that makes it hard for those goals to be reached. Performance cannot be something that is measured after a site goes live. It needs to be a core principle on which your site is built. So, here are a few factors for you to manage when designing for a high-performance site. Minimum customization. Try to customize the native functionality of your e-commerce platform the least amount possible. Keep the distance from where data is stored to where it is displayed short. For example, performing a live API call to get a price from the ERP, as opposed to storing that price in some local database. Keep your user interface lightweight. Don't clutter up pages with unnecessary elements. Try to keep the number of third-party extensions to a minimum. Optimize your caching technique. It's important that your stakeholders accept the limitations of your e-commerce platform, as well as the limitations of any other system that it's integrated with. That way you can be smart in expanding your site with custom functionality without impacting performance. You should really be aligning your business processes with the e-com platform and not the other way around. When you are designing your server and database architecture, always keep scalability in mind, and also keep in mind that it's important to stay as close as possible with your e-commerce platform's latest version. Lagging behind will inevitably affect performance. Number 6, organic traffic. Organic traffic is the direct result of a solid SEO and marketing strategy. People that reach your website from a search engine's organic search results page are clearly shopping with intent. So if you can provide them with a solution or an answer to their question, then they will be more likely to convert. According to Search Engine Land, over 50% of B2B marketers consider organic traffic their primary source of lead generation, and this is even higher when compared to B2C. There's another report by Frenetics that claims that over 60% of B2B buyers perform a web search before making a purchase decision. If your current site enjoys a good amount of organic traffic and you are migrating to a new platform, then it is very important that you carry over this strength as part of the migration. And this can be done with standard procedures like the following. Redirecting with 301s instead of 302s. Avoiding links to non-production environments. Avoiding links to products that no longer exist or content that is no longer available. And canonicalization of duplicate content pages. And that concludes the session. I hope that was informative, and I wish you luck in your B2B e-commerce launch initiatives. If you would like any more clarification or additional conversation on any of the topics that I discussed in this video, feel free to reach out to me in the email address below. Cheers.